Welcome to #Strong. I am so excited to introduce you to our next guest. And what's really amazing about today's conversation is it's starting to show me the empowerment of strong, because our next guest is someone that I've recently met, and it was through a friend of a friend that introduced me to Sareh. So I'd like to welcome Sareh to the show, but just before I do that, if this is the first time that you're here with us watching Strong, I want to welcome you to our journey, to our tribe. Strong is about empowering the youth, but it's also about connecting communities on a global scale. We hope that with our episodes, with our conversations, that we're able to help you watching the episodes feel more connected to the stories that are being shared here on our episodes. So without further ado, Sareh, welcome to Strong.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's so amazing to have you. We're at episode 12, and it's a journey that we're all really excited to be on together, but really excited to be bringing new faces to the journey as well. How are you feeling?
Good. I'm very good. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for this opportunity, and hopefully that together we can give confidence, give a new hope to other women like us.
That's really what we want to be doing, Sareh. So just before we get into getting to know and meeting Sareh, let's talk a little bit about how we came to be and how we brought you here today, how we convinced you to be part of this journey. So I remember my version of how we met. Maybe you can remind me of your version of how we met.
Sure. I got a text message from Dino from Rotaract Dubai, Jumeirah, Dubai, and he said, "You must meet Maria. You guys gonna connect, and you're gonna. I'm sure you're gonna convince her also to join the Optimist and so on and so forth." So I said, "Fantastic, get me connected." And then we met at one of Rotaract meetings where we sat on the same table, and you were next to Renos, who is the founder or co-founder of CR Hope Foundation in Zanzibar. And that was it. We start talking and immediately exchange cards, and I was like, I want to know more, I want to know you better. And then the next stop was you came to one of our Optimist International Golf Dubai events, which was very recent. And I think that was it. That was how we hit off.
It really was. And I think in hearing you say that, what I really want the youth to understand, and I say this every day when I'm at work, working with the youth, is it's about connecting people. And what we do, regardless of what we do on a professional level, it really is about speaking to new people, having confidence to say what we do, and being able to understand how we can all be working together in community. So it's so great to have you here, Sareh. And it's really so wonderful to be having this kind of a conversation with not just a woman on the show, but also a woman that I look up to. And that's something that I knew instantly when I met you. Your energy, your commitment to empowering women, your commitment to connecting with all genders, and on a professional platform, but also on a platform that has a conscious awareness of our impact in society and in the world. And I know we'll talk a little more about what you do. But before we do that, I'd like to start right at the beginning. And it's my favorite question. And the reason I asked this question, which I really never told another guest before, and it was in a conversation I had with a friend last night, and we talked about why I asked this as my first question. And I believe I asked this question because I think, and I feel in my work with teenagers, it's probably the question we struggle to identify with the most. So who is Sareh?
Okay. I believe I have a different hats, let's put it that way. First, I'm mother of 2 kids, 4 and 1 year old. I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, and I'm a citizen of the world. What can I tell you? I love to connect with people. I love the power of networking. I believe through the power of networking, we can achieve a lot more. Look at us. We're sitting here because of that. I'm saying a lot of you have to get used to that. And I love to empower women. This is and children. This is really what I would like to do and what I'm doing, and whatever comes, that's really empowers me. Empowering them, it empowers me. That's in short who is Sareh.
And I love this question so much because it's the pause before the answer that always gets me. It's when I ask a guest, just like I did with you, who is, we always take that pause. It's almost like, that's a big question. Yeah. Do you find in your many different roles that the answer to that question means that you have to play different parts, and sometimes one part is so different to another, and it makes you not just more of a rich human being, but also sometimes more complicated when you're playing these different parts?
I think it's build your character. Each of these ones that I mentioned, being a mother, being a sister, being a sister to my group, my Sareh Optimist group, these are all built different characters. But also, yes, it's complicated for sure, because I want to give to. We are giving, no? As women, we are giving to back to our community, to our families, and so on. So. For sure, it is hard to manage, but if you have a strong network of people around you, if your family is supportive, if your husband is, doesn't drag you down, but it's side by side pulling you up, a partnership, absolutely. Then I think you can be successful. You can do all these different things, which personally I am doing. I don't want to be saying that I'm successful in every alley that I'm going, but I have the support and I have the confidence, and I'm not afraid of doing new things, change. I'm not. I'm doing it. If you come tomorrow, you say, Sareh, let's go together to Tanzania to support Renus. Yeah, I'll do it. I take my kids and I come with you. So.
And I love that, and I think the youth don't see the different roles that we play, and I think it depends on the role that we play in front of them, and that's what's so important, and that's what Strong is really about. Do you find, because sometimes I find that I'm really strong in one role, and depending on what I'm doing, that role tends to kind of overshadow many of the other roles. So, for example, when I'm a mom, just like I'm sure you can relate to this, you behave in a certain way, really unconscious. But then when you're playing the role of founder of the projects that you're working on, you have a different job description, right? And how do you find the transition from one to the other? And I think the youth, probably your children, won't see you in all these different roles, and they'll identify with you in different ways. But I always say, we don't teach the youth how to transition. So how do you transition?
Somebody told me when they were with me on a project, I said, Sareh, you have different personalities. I see a different Sareh in you today. Well, exactly. Who is that? Which actually I never thought, I never realized this about me. Yes, if I am with you right now, I'm a different Sareh. But if I'm in a project, for example, I built a school in Cameroon about 10 years ago. And if you don't mind, I'll just tell you a little bit.
I want to hear it all. Yeah.
So we were there, and this was my project. This was my initiative. I was 10 years younger than right now. I'm not going to reveal my age. And there, people, I don't know. They wouldn't take me seriously. Maybe I was just a young girl, on the field trying to tell mainly a bunch of men, how to proceed with the building. And that's also my background. I studied interior design. And they tend to speak to a man who was with us from Dubai. And at the end he said, sorry guys, she's the boss, you need to talk to her. And maybe that was also because of the way he push everybody towards me, that gave me confidence as a young student at a time. But then I really felt like, yes, I can do this. This is I've done every step of this project, and I shouldn't be, afraid of these people around me. And then that's how I really felt confident. And then my professor who was with us said, Sarah, I see a different person completely. Suddenly, my face changes, my voice, the way I talk to people changes, because I want to make sure whatever I was doing at a time happens. And I didn't care if people, that maybe it's good for the youth. Yes. I didn't care if people think, okay, she's rude, or I wasn't rude, but I was strong. That's the word. I was a strong, I had a strong personality at that.
And you had a purpose as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted that to happen. And then he told me that I saw a different Sarah. You have a how do you say it? A person's, like when we are together, a face, and then you have a project face.
And that's the reality of having all these different roles in our life, right?
With the children, sometimes they would see it. Okay, not the 1-year-old yet, but Sophie, since she's 3 months old, I've been traveling to conferences to Bulgaria, I don't know, to different countries. I've been traveling with her, sometimes alone, only the two of us. And so she sees all this, and I believe that she's learning.
Oh,
she's learning all this to be a strong personality.
And it's so great that she can see you transitioning from role as mum to role as a founder to role as a speaker, or whatever role you're playing.
Absolutely. And I just want to say it is not easy. I feel personality, especially as a mom. I'm a late mother. I become mother quite late in age. Definitely it is not easy. But I'm learning and I'm listening to all the women around me who are mothers, and I get advice. So how can I deal with this? How can I deal with that? And I really listen to them.
And I think that in being able to share what you're learning today, it's great, because the youth, they're not taught this at school, but it's expected that they know how to play these different roles. And I know in season 2 we're going to be talking about boys and men and the challenges that they face, but season 1 is all about females. And I know in working with females and in being female as well, especially when you're running a program or starting something new, you have to be comfortable being assertive. Do you find that being assertive is seen as being rude or being impolite, or is it something that you see in your role, in your career, that is not reflected in a positive light?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. But if you ask all my friends or people who know me, how do you perceive Sarah? And they say she's a doer. She is. If she pledged to do something, I really make sure that happens. Again, I don't care. People see me as rude or something. This is my purpose. I want to make sure this happens, and I make sure that happens.
I love that you're saying I don't care. A previous guest said the same thing to me. She said, I don't care what people think about me. How did you learn that? Because the youth are really struggling with caring too much about what their peers think, that it's having a negative impact on their mindset, on their well-being. And we're seeing that academic achievement is dropping. We're seeing that connection to peers is challenged. Different theories about social media and blah, blah, blah. But how did you learn not to care?
To be honest with you, I think this is part of my personality. That's how I grew up. I remember as a 7-year-old child, I looked up to the sky and said, and put my hands in my pocket, and I said, there's a reason why I'm here. At 7 years old, I remember so clearly walking from a friend's house to my house. It was the Iranian New Year, the Nowruz. And I said, there is a purpose why I'm here, but also it goes back to the family. I believe also in that, because always in the family we have discussions about different topics and so on. So this is really important for the youth, that they have a strong family, or they talk to each other. That's really, really important. That's what I believe. That's part of my personality, that's for sure, but also you can learn that. Just be strong. Don't listen to the other kids in your school, for example. Of course, and then social media, to be honest, it's what you see on social media, it is not the real life. People don't put, if only you see a smiley face on the social media. You never see somebody's crying, somebody's down, even somebody helping the other person. Maybe they feel, no, I don't want to share that, or something like that, right? So one thing for the youth, stop believing what you see on the social media. This is not the real life. That's one thing. Second, try to bring your knowledge up. Read. This is one thing we are missing. We are not reading enough. Read, bring your information up. Then that will give you confidence. Yes, true. When I go to some new event, something I don't know about, I am shy away, because I know what is it. Do I know?
It's those first couple of minutes, isn't it?
I don't know if I sit and just I listen to people. So that's another thing. Try to listen to people around you. Look up to role models. We have so many amazing people around us, and also in the world leaders. The Prime Minister of New Zealand, she's absolutely my role model. She's only, I don't know, 36, 37 years old. So look up and stop looking at this social media and they say, oh, everybody's life is so perfect, and my life, oh, I'm sitting in the house, I'm doing nothing. No, stop. Your life is perfect. You are healthy. You have a good family, you have a roof over your head, you have food on your table. When I went to Africa, and that was my really first shock, that people, after 2 weeks, I was there about 5 weeks. After 2 weeks, I saw, oh, Jamila, she's wearing the same shirt from my pictures. Every day I was like, why? Now I could, they had one pair of clothes. Some they had shoes, some they didn't have, and I know you already had this experience. Yes. Absolutely. So these are things that we need to be grateful for, and that's what we need to teach our kids.
But don't you find that, so I want to bring it back to you, but before we do, don't you find that the experiences that you're describing right now, those are life experiences, but we're not all in positions to go and experience these things. And I think one of the challenges that we see with the youth is they feel lectured. They feel like we're telling them, you should, but it's only when we experience it, like you would have, like I had the privilege to experience as well. Do you find that it will depend on their opportunities for these experiences before they can learn it? Or do you think that, well, no, it's a process, we can teach them?
It's a process, that's for sure. It's 100%, because for me, also it's very new. I was only 23 years old when I first left my country. 23 years old. So for sure, seeing the world, traveling, doing charity work, giving back to the society through community projects, it changes you and it gives you confidence. You see the bigger picture. You come out of that box that most of the people are in. You fly away. That's the way I see it. You're like a bird. You fly away and you see, okay, it doesn't matter what the other girls or boys tell me in the high school. I'm above all that. I can do anything I want. Only I need to really build up my knowledge and do that flying out of the box.
Your energy, I say this a lot on our episodes, I wish the audience could feel what I'm feeling right now, and it's exactly why I invited you to be part of this journey. Sareh, you are the whole picture. You are a woman, a mother, a daughter. You have the right mindset. You talked about the family. And for many of us, having that blessing of family is so important. But for those of us that don't have that blessing of family, community is so, so important. The youth hearing these messages of empowerment everywhere. I think if they hear it everywhere, if they have access to it everywhere, here, there, everywhere, eventually it will stick and eventually they'll feel it. But let's bring this all back to you. So we talked about who you are, who is Sareh. If I were a fly on the wall watching you through a typical day, what would it look like?
Oh, so I wake up quite early because of my 1-year-old, Neo, at around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I go to bed quite late, so I get like maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Then I take care of the kids first and breakfast and try to take them out, some fresh air. Now the schools are closed, as you know.
It's a big challenge.
It's a really big challenge. So I try to also teach Sophie. She's almost 4. Next week she will turn 4. And then once the little one is napping, I put some painting, something that Sophie is busy with, and then I try to read my emails, do a little bit of social media with my startup, which is also supporting women, and again support other women. I read, people send me messages, so trying to go through that, and then I do cooking. I don't have a nanny, so it's also
Wow.
it's quite
You don't
a
help at
challenge.
home?
No, I don't have. I need to do all my shopping myself. I have big help with my husband. He's also working from home. But as you know, women have, one of my friends, she told me I'm an octopus.
Oh.
So I have one hand for this and the other hand is doing that and so on. And that's exactly, I feel also the same. So I do the cooking, lunch, and go through the day. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you do all that.
Yeah. Sometimes I have meetings, so I leave the kids with my husband. I go for meetings, like today, right now. The
Yes.
kids are with my husband.
Wow. So a strong, supportive husband.
Absolutely.
Do you think that on a typical day, playing all these different roles has an impact on you in that bigger picture?
To be honest with you, it's really challenging, especially that I don't have a nanny. I don't have my mother here. She lives in the US. I don't have my mother-in-law here. She lives in Germany. In normal communities in the past, you as a mother or as a businesswoman who is also a mother, you always had like my mom. She had her mom. She had her sisters. That's how she could teach in a school. She was a teacher. But here, as an expat parents, I think we don't have that support of the family. At least I don't have, and I believe many people, they don't have either. But it is really challenging to go through it. But I make sure I have a good schedule so I can dedicate. I don't want to. What's the word in English? Like to make sure this happens, I neglect another one. I can't remember the English word, but I make sure that I can't go through everything. If I promise Maria that I need to be here on this time and on this day, I make sure that I've done all my duties. The lunch is already ready. You know what I mean? I've done everything, so that I'm sitting here, relaxed. Okay, a little bit nervous. Different
Hopefully
story.
you're feeling a little more relaxed now.
Absolutely. So I can manage to do all my work one step at a time.
So having that time management is key to playing all these different roles. And do you feel that on a typical day, your levels of positivity vary depending on what you're doing?
When I wake up in the morning, I'm very positive. I'm a positive in nature. I've done many healing energy classes since I'm 18 years old. So in general, I'm very positive. It's just that at the end of the day, maybe at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm just tired.
And I think this idea of positivity, I know that working with the youth, there's this idea that we're supposed to be up all the time. And we find that the youth are not really able to understand that it's okay to dip.
Absolutely.
It's not the dip that's the issue, it's how do you rise after the dip. Who taught you that cycle and how to pick yourself up, being a naturally positive person?
I'm always, I don't know.
I'm wondering, because how you described your relationship with your different roles,
yeah,
and how your children travel with you and your daughter came with you.
Yeah.
I'm wondering who was the role model that taught you to be this and to manage those things?
Well, for sure, my mom had a big impact on my life, I must say. But also my professors at AUD, at the American University in Dubai. And particularly my professor Nicole. She was my public speaking and English professor, and I really believe that she, of course my mother, but as a mother, you know, I grew up in the war times in Iran, and she was teaching. She had 3-4 kids and trying to manage. Of course she had the help of her mom and sisters. But she would also take the time during all this, if you can imagine, war times, bombs comes, they run to the basement or shelter and so on. But she still managed to teach us that being in such a circumstances, you still have to care for your community and your society. And she would, every other weekend, she would take us to the orphanage which was in our community. My brother would play the keyboard, and she would bake a cake and just make sure that we understand that there are kids who don't have a family or parents to take care for them, so that we go and she would take us every other weekend. And then this professor Nicole, I believe she was the one who really saw what I can do. And that was it. The third year of my university, that's where I started with all my community projects, international projects, and try to tap into the power. And these two, I would say, they had the biggest, mother and Nicole had the biggest impact.
So again, I'm hearing you say that you are who you are, but it was really role models along the way. And it's not what we tell the youth, it's how we be, right? It's how we are. They're going to learn more, and I really feel that we see this. They're going to learn more from how we behave and not from what we tell them that they should be doing.
That's very true. And also we all were a teenager. I wish that teenagers would believe in them, in their abilities, in themselves, and look up to people like you, to people who are actually making a difference. Not the ones on social media who are, let's say, faking it, or they try to be. Don't. Look at your mother, look at your next door neighbor, and look at also leaders, world leaders, which I just mentioned. Just believe, really. If you believe, you can do it.
And I feel it's having all of these messages again and again and again. So let's go back to you again, a little bit deeper. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
What about when nobody's watching? When you have that time, the children are asleep, your husband is away, and you're just with yourself. What do you do? How do you disconnect?
I love to do meditation, and I love to do which I mentioned, these healing energies. So that really brings me to center my energy, and that's what I do. I read books, so the, interesting books. They don't have to be anything in particular, but just for my mind to, as you said, switch off from the rest of the world. So I love to read, and I love to cook.
Excellent.
I love cooking.
It's almost a form of meditation, cooking, isn't it?
I love it. And I love to cook for people. So I'm a good cook, I would say.
Great. So meditation, reading, cooking.
Yeah.
It's really about being with yourself.
Yeah.
Excellent. If you could go back to being 14 all over again, what would you do different? Another hard question.
Another hard question. I'm trying to remember when I was 14. I think I would try to learn to connect more with other people, with other kids my age. I think I was more shy, maybe not shy, but I was more inside myself, but also maybe the society I grew up. Again, the war times or post-war, after the war. But I think I would read more.
Okay.
I would definitely, at that age, I would have loved to read more. I would have make this brain a bit expand more, because reading, I think it really makes your brain.
It does. It opens your mind on a different level, and you hear yourself when you're reading, because you're narrating as you're reading. What would you say I mean, I can almost imagine, but what would you say has been the hardest challenge to overcome this far in your life?
The biggest challenge.
And I think this is a hard question for people who are so driven, because every challenge is an opportunity. But if you could look at your life this far and think, yeah, I remember that thing, that took me a while, but I did it.
Do you mean like something like happened in my life? Or?
No, it doesn't have to be a thing. I think what I'm trying to help the youth understand is life throws curveballs at us. You know, we plan, we educate ourselves, we do everything for the plan A. And we assume that life will take us down this path. But sometimes the universe has a different plan and it throws things at us. And we have to find our feet again. And it could be the littlest thing. It could be, for some youth, it could be getting through the next exam. And for other youth, it could be the loss of someone great in their family. Okay. What was it for you?
Well, one of the they've been different of these hiccups. Let's put it that way.
I like that word, hiccup.
Yeah. One thing you need to you need to think this is not the end of the world. It is hard, and it will. The things that happened to me, and some of them, to be honest, still after many years in my life, I still look back and I'm like, oh, I wish it didn't happen. I wish I reacted differently. Just learn from them, and don't let that energy, because now it's in the past, right? Don't let that energy, if it's negative or positive or neutral, whatever you want to call it, drag you down. That's what I would say. Learn from it so that you don't repeat the same pattern again, which we all tend to. We tend to repeat things in our life. That's I don't know, it's a human nature maybe, but please learn from it. I keep telling to my best friends or my sister, okay, this happened, but learn from it so it doesn't repeat itself again.
And also, if it does repeat itself, you know the strategy that didn't work. So try something different. What would you say to a young person, or even to a woman of your generation or maybe older, would be your strategies to remind yourself? Because I think sometimes when the hiccup happens, we're so emotionally attached that we lose ourselves somewhere along the way. What would your strategy be for catching yourself before it drags you down?
Do the meditation. I really believe. Walk. Go outside alone and walk in the nature. This is and think over whatever happened in your life. try to think out of the box. Again, we are, as humans, we one day we are born and one day we are gone. During this time that we are here, we need to leave an impact. We need to have an effect on other people. It doesn't have to be a huge effect, but just bring a smile to other people next to us. Try not to let that thing drag you down by focusing on positivity or think how you can get out of it.
Again, I think also I can resonate with that. It's find a purpose bigger than the darkness, right? Yeah. It's you know that going down is going to take you to that dark place, but try to find the life jacket, keep yourself afloat, and focus on something that's outside of what's bringing you down. Would you agree?
That's absolutely, I agree 100%.
So what I love about doing Strong, I feel not only with the first question, it gets us thinking, who is? So although I'm having this conversation with you, I encourage our audience to ask themselves these same questions so they can self-reflect. So from that first question, who is Sareh, right to this question that I'm about to ask you, it gets us remembering that Strong isn't about just empowering the youth. It's also about empowering the woman today, the woman that we want to be tomorrow. You've done so much. You've come so far. Where does Sareh go from here? What are your aspirations?
I really want to be a role model for people from my country, but not only, but people anywhere in the world, all the young people, young women. I really want them to believe in themselves, and so that they can do anything they want if they put their mind into it, and they empower themselves by knowledge. So you need to study, you need to learn, and look up to people like yourself and
yourself.
Thank you. And they can do it. That's one line I just found. If one person, I tell you this story. I wanted to learn diving, scuba diving, and there I went 3 times down into the water, into the sea, and the first 2 times I jumped out and I cannot do it. The last time, which was the 3rd time, I really, like in a meditation state, I said to myself, other people doing scuba diving, right? And I answered to myself, yes. If they can do it, you can do it. And that was it. I went down all the way to the bottom of the sea, and it was really good visibility. So I saw 2 stingrays flying or swimming like in a circle around me. And I just looked and said, that's it, I did it. If anybody can be successful, and there are successful people, there are leaders, women leaders, so that you can also do it. That's my...
That's amazing. Yeah. I love that you tried it a 3rd time.
Yeah.
The youth forget that it's okay to keep.
Absolutely. You fail. I failed once, I failed twice. And the last time I just said, look, if there are people, millions of people are diving, so what are you afraid of?
And you probably see this with your 1-year-old, that she or he is very resilient. They fall, they get back up, they fall, they get back up. But as children become older, it almost becomes, I'm afraid to fail, I'm afraid to fall. So I love that your aspiration is to continue being a role model.
Absolutely, and I failed many times. But I'm here today, and I will go higher up the ladder even more. Excellent. I believe in that. So.
I believe in that too. I can't wait to see where this goes. So Sareh, bringing it all to an end, we've come so far in this conversation, and I could talk to you forever, but we do have to start to wrap it up. And my last question is, Strong is not just about them, it's about you as well. How can we help you on your Strong journey, your aspiration to be a role model? How can we support you?
Just become a part of my tribe, and together we can do a lot more.
I love that. Yeah. So if you're out there and you're watching, I hope you were as inspired as I am meeting Sareh today. Strong is about empowering the youth, but it's also about connecting us in community. It's about empowering the woman in front of me, empowering myself, and empowering you. I hope to see you again next week when we bring another amazing guest to inspire you and to motivate us to continue being in community. Thank you for watching.